Yo, remember how you were telling me to get some Bitcoins?
Mm-hmm.
I got some. Got it real cheap too. It's called Bitcoin Cash.
Cash. Like physical pieces of paper?
I don't think so.
Why does it exist then?
Man, why does anything exist?
What's the difference between that and original Bitcoin?
All I know is that it came after a fork.
A fork? What is that? Like they fucked?
What's going on, everyone? Daniel here. We are going to talk about forks. Now, there's different types of forks. Some are hard, some are soft. If I'm already losing you because the only type of fork you ever use in your life is hard forks, that's okay. I'm going to explain using simple analogies, but if you haven't seen my analogy about the relationships between different groups of people in blockchain, click here. It will help you better understand. Pause the video, come back afterwards. It's okay, it's only 5 minutes. Alright, you good? Now let me explain forks in blockchains. The formal definition of a fork is a divergence in perspective of the state of the blockchain. Huh? What does that mean? Well, it's basically a split due to a non-agreement. This happens 2 or 3 times a week on the Bitcoin blockchain, and we can't even tell because it always corrects itself. To explain exactly how and why this happens, we need to talk about mining. Click here for details, but here's how mining is related to forks. Imagine a giant place where everyone in the world is playing bingo. One guy wins and tells everyone, "I found the key. Here's my block." People who heard him say, "Okay, I'll build the next block after you." Another guy finds it as well, but just a few seconds later in the opposite corner, and people around him follows, "Okay, I'll build the next block after you." Now, we can't just ask a central authority because we took that out of blockchains. So, what happens is every system that heard their bingo acts according to that miner's block. We now have a fork. But don't worry, this will be resolved in the next block, which in Bitcoin is only 10 minutes away. When someone finds the next block, there is a much smaller chance that 2 people finds it almost simultaneously again. So, whichever side the new block chooses becomes the main chain. And the other guy says, "I must follow the majority." So they put the transaction back as unconfirmed. No big loss as those 2 blocks were 95% the same anyway, and only a few transactions got delayed for only 1 block. Sometimes forks happen deliberately instead of by chance. If one group of miners wants to change the rules for everyone, and those miners become the majority with 51%, then the rules will change. Depending on how much these changes piss people off, we call it a soft or hard fork. Hard forks piss more people off because it allows for more things to happen. So some people are not going to like it. This forces people to either deal with it or get out. Let's go back to our restaurant analogy. If the restaurant starts out with a vegetarian menu, but starts making pork instead, then it's a hard fork. This forces people to change or eat somewhere else. On the other hand, if the restaurant starts out as vegetarian, then starts making vegan food, it's a soft fork. People don't have to change anything. Even meat eaters can eat there too. This type of change is tightening the rules, and it is inclusive of everyone from before. So, that was my summary on what forks are in blockchain. The reason that forks happen is because different groups disagree, and yet they all think they are in charge. Regardless, here's how you can stay safe when forks do happen, as both Bitcoin and Ethereum have forked, and they will do so again in the next few months. 1. Do not trade after a hard fork. You will have both old and new coins, but the longer chain could wipe out the other one. 2. Hold your coin in a wallet that you control until things stabilize. Click here for my video about different types of wallets, so you can choose the most secure way to store your coins. Lastly, I know all this stuff we just talked about seems really crazy. Why don't we just stick to what we have right now? In the next video, I will explain why this system is still by far better than the one we have today. Stay tuned for videos every week, join the conversation, and leave your feedback on what you want to see next. May all your coins moon and all fiats stay flat. Stay safe, guys.